Welcome to Life Stories, where we share tales of resilience, love, and life-changing moments. Today's story takes us on an emotional journey of abandonment, self-discovery, and an unexpected inheritance that transforms a young woman's life. Follow Emily Walker as she overcomes the pain of her parents' betrayal, finds unconditional love in her grandmother Eleanor, and learns the true meaning of family and legacy. It's a story filled with heartbreak, hope, and powerful lessons about strength and kindness. Subscribe to Life Stories and join us as we dive into today's unforgettable story. Let's begin. I never thought I'd see my parents again after they left me at the age of 8. That day has been etched in my memory as if it happened only yesterday. I can still see my mother's hesitant smile and my father's stoic face as they dropped me off at Grandma Eleanor's house with nothing but a small backpack of clothes and promises I now know they had no intention of keeping. "We just need some time to sort things out," Emily, my mother, had said, her voice quivering slightly as she avoided meeting my eyes. "Be good for Grandma, okay?" And then, just like that, they were gone. The first few months were the hardest. Every day after school, I would sit by the front window of Grandma Eleanor's house, watching the street intently, hoping the next car to pass by would be theirs. But they never came. Every night, I cried myself to sleep, wondering what I had done wrong. What could an 8-year-old possibly do to make her parents leave her? I asked myself this question over and over until the silence felt like it would swallow me whole. Grandma Eleanor, however, was my saving grace. She never tried to force me to stop hoping or to move on too quickly. Instead, she held me through my tears and whispered words that I would carry with me for the rest of my life. "You're perfect just as you are, my sweet girl," she'd say, brushing away my tears. "Some people just aren't ready to be parents. And that's not your fault. But I'm here. And I'll always be here." Eleanor wasn't like other grandmothers. She was sharp, sophisticated, and endlessly wise. At first glance, her life appeared modest. She lived in a cozy, old-fashioned house, drove an aging Toyota, and worked tirelessly as the principal of the local high school. But as I would later discover, she was a woman of immense wealth and even greater humility. She had a passion for art that adorned the walls of her home. And she had a habit of reading the financial papers with the same focus she used when guiding her students. Every now and then, she'd casually mention her investments, but only in passing, as if they were of little importance compared to the people she cared about. Under Eleanor's care, I began to flourish. She nurtured my love for science and encouraged me to dream big. If I struggled with a subject, she would hire a tutor. If I achieved something, no matter how small, she would celebrate it as though I had won a Nobel Prize. When I won first place at the state science fair at 13, she threw a huge party, inviting all my friends and their families. She hugged me tightly that day, her eyes shimmering with pride. "That's my girl," she beamed. "You're going to change the world someday." Emily. Life with Grandma Eleanor settled into a comforting rhythm. It was us against the world. And I learned to let go of the pain my parents had caused me. Eleanor never spoke ill of them, but she made sure I understood their absence wasn't my fault. "Sometimes, people make choices they can't take back," she'd say, her voice soft but resolute. "But those choices reflect on them, not on you." Eventually, I stopped thinking about my parents. I stopped waiting for their car to appear in the driveway and stopped wondering why they had left. I had Grandma Eleanor, and that was enough. She wasn't just my grandmother, she was my home, my foundation, and my greatest supporter. Then came my 18th birthday, a day that should have been pure joy but would ultimately mark the beginning of a new chapter filled with heartache and revelations. Eleanor went all out for the celebration, hosting an elegant dinner at her favorite restaurant and inviting everyone who had been part of my journey. She gave me a necklace that night, a delicate gold chain with a small key pendant. "This is more than just jewelry, Emily," she said with a mysterious smile. "Keep it safe. You'll understand when the time comes." I had no idea then that this would be our last celebration together. 3 months later, Eleanor collapsed at school. By the time I reached the hospital, she was gone. The doctors said it was a heart attack, quick and painless. But the pain I felt was anything but quick. It tore through me like a storm, leaving emptiness in its wake. The funeral was a beautiful tribute to her life. The church was filled with her former students, colleagues, and friends, all sharing stories of how she had changed their lives. I sat alone in the front row, clutching the key necklace she had given me, trying to be strong as she had taught me to be. And then I saw them, my parents. They walked into the church as though they belonged there, as though they hadn't abandoned me a decade ago. My mother's hair was grayer, and my father had gained weight, but I would have recognized them anywhere. My heart stopped, then started racing. They approached me, their faces painted with expressions of concern that didn't match the decade of silence they had left me with. "Emily, sweetheart," my mother said, reaching for my hand. Instinctively, I pulled away. "We came as soon as we heard," my father added solemnly. "We're so sorry about your grandmother." I stared at them, unable to find words. "You'll come home with us." "Of course," my mother continued, her voice firm and authoritative. "You're still a minor for a few more months. And we're your legal guardians." Rage boiled within me. 10 years of silence. And now they wanted to play happy family. I managed to choke out. "I'm not going anywhere with you." My mother's voice hardened, her stern tone a haunting reminder of my childhood. "Emily, don't be difficult. We're your parents. You don't have a choice." But before I could respond, a deep voice interrupted. "Actually, she has every choice." A tall man in an expensive suit stood behind them, holding a leather briefcase. "I'm James Morrison, Eleanor Walker's attorney. We need to have a conversation about your grandmother's will." And just like that, everything began to change again. The tension in the room was unbearable as we followed Mr. Morrison into a private area of the church. The polished wooden table seemed far too small to contain the emotions that churned inside me. My parents flanked me like anxious vultures, trying to appear concerned and composed. But their darting eyes betrayed them. They weren't here for me, they were here for whatever they thought Grandma Eleanor had left behind. Mr. Morrison sat across from us, calm and composed, meticulously arranging the documents from his briefcase. After a moment, he adjusted his glasses and looked directly at me. "Miss Emily, would you please show me your necklace?" My parents exchanged confused glances, but I reached for the delicate gold chain around my neck, pulling the small key pendant into view. A faint smile crossed Mr. Morrison's face as he nodded. "Perfect. Now let me read the terms of Eleanor Walker's will." As he began reading, the legal language blurred in my mind. My thoughts were scattered, caught between disbelief and dread. And then, one sentence shattered everything. "To my beloved granddaughter, Emily Grace Walker, I leave my entire estate, including all properties, investments, bank accounts, and business holdings, currently valued at approximately $47 million. The room erupted into chaos. "47 million, my mother shrieked, her face turning red. "That's impossible. Eleanor was a school principal." My father slammed his hand on the table, his composure cracking. "This is ridiculous. We're her only children. You can't tell me she left everything to a teenager." Mr. Morrison remained unbothered, his voice steady as he addressed them. "There's more. The will specifies that Emily is to be legally emancipated immediately, and a trust has been established in her name. The key she wears opens a safety deposit box containing additional documents and instructions." I could hardly breathe. $47 million? The modest, Toyota-driving woman who had been my whole world was worth more than I could have ever imagined. "This will is dated just last month," my mother said, her voice sharp and dangerous. "We'll contest it. Emily is still a minor. We're her legal guardians. And we have rights." But Mr. Morrison was prepared for them. Actually, he said, pulling out another document. You surrendered those rights 10 years ago. He placed the paper in front of them with a cool efficiency. This is a copy of the abandonment charges Eleanor filed after you left Emily. You never responded to the court summons. So full legal custody was granted to Eleanor. You haven't been Emily's guardians for a very long time. Their faces transformed in an instant. The carefully constructed facade of concern melted away, replaced by naked greed and fury. Emily. Sweetheart, my mother began. Her tone suddenly syrupy. You don't understand what this means. Let us help you. We're family. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. Family? Where had family been when I was an 8-year-old girl crying myself to sleep every night? Where had family been when Eleanor was the only one standing by me? Teaching me? Loving me? Where was family when you left me? I asked. My voice trembling but determined. Where was family for the last 10 years while Grandma Eleanor raised me? The silence that followed was deafening. My father tried to recover. His voice quick and desperate. We were young. We made mistakes. But we're here now. We can make this right. I stood up. My hands shaking. Make it right. My voice rose with anger. Years of pain and abandonment pouring out of me. You're only here because of the money. Did you even care that Grandma died? Did you ever care about me? Their silence was all the confirmation I needed. Mr. Morrison cleared his throat. Breaking the tension. There's one more thing, he said, sliding a sealed envelope across the table toward me. Eleanor left this letter for you. Emily. She asked that you read it alone. I grabbed the envelope and walked out, ignoring my parents' protests. Finding a quiet corner in the church, I opened it with trembling hands. The familiar handwriting brought a fresh wave of tears to my eyes. My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And you've just learned the truth about our family's wealth. I know it's a shock. But I kept it secret to protect you and to help you grow up understanding the value of hard work and kindness. Your parents, they chose money over love. Many times. They abandoned you because I refused to fund their extravagant lifestyle. They left because I refused to let them squander what I had built. Their decision to leave was a reflection of their own greed. Not your worth. The key I gave you opens more than just a safety deposit box, it opens the door to your future. I've made arrangements for everything. The house is yours. Your college fund is secure. And the family business awaits when you're ready. But most importantly, remember this, you are loved not for your inheritance, but for who you are. The same strength that helped you survive their abandonment will help you handle this responsibility. Don't let them manipulate you. They'll try. But you are stronger than they know. You're a Walker woman. And we don't break easily. All my love. Grandma Eleanor. As I finished reading, tears streamed down my face. Even in death, Eleanor was protecting me, guiding me, loving me. I clutched the key around my neck, finally understanding its true significance. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the life she had prepared me for, the legacy she had entrusted to me. I wiped my tears and walked back into the private room. My head held high. My parents fell silent as I entered, but their eyes burned with frustration and desperation. I want you to leave, I said firmly, my voice steady. Both of you. You're not welcome here. This isn't over, my mother hissed. But I didn't flinch. It is, I replied, channeling Eleanor's quiet strength. And for the first time in my life, I truly felt free. As I stepped out of the office that day, the weight of the past finally lifted from my shoulders. Grandma Eleanor had given me more than just wealth, she'd given me the tools to build a life of meaning, strength, and love. The Montgomery Foundation, now the Walker Foundation, was thriving, helping children like me find hope in their darkest moments. My parents disappeared from my life, but the lessons Eleanor taught me remained forever. She proved that true wealth isn't about money, it's about how you use it to lift others. Now, as I sit in her old office, I touch the key around my neck and smile. Her legacy lives on in every life I touch, in every small act of kindness. If you want to hear more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to Life Stories. There's always more to share. See you in the next video.